Hello everyone and welcome back to another moveset video for Crisis Protocol, the miniatures game. We're going to do Captain Marvel real quick, kind of show everything that Captain Marvel is capable of doing in the game of Crisis Protocol. For me, it's very overwhelming in a miniatures game to see all these models and have no idea what they do because there's cards that have all sorts of text on them. So we wanted to look at the moves of every character so you can watch all these videos and understand, coming into your first game of Crisis Protocol, kind of what everything can do. So let's talk about Captain Marvel, shall we? First thing to note is that Captain Marvel does have flight. So we've covered this in a couple of videos so far, but flying means that you don't have to climb up buildings. So normally, if you're trying to get on something taller than you, you have to take a climb action, which is the small movement template. But with Captain Marvel, because you're flying, you can fly up onto things without any issue. So if our daily bugle appears, essentially, boom, I'm flying, right? It's about how you would expect. She also has an immunity to poison. This is both on the very bottom of the card, which is a really nice ability. There are some things in the game that are going to give you a poison token or poison status, and she's totally immune to that, so you don't have to worry about it. Then if we look at her movement, she is a medium move. So that's, as we've established, kind of the baseline for your average character is going to be medium, your slower characters are small, and your faster characters are long, or short, I should say, and your faster ones are long. So medium is, as you might expect, in everything you've encountered in your life, medium is about average, right? Medium size. Unless you go to Whataburger, their medium cups are like giant. I'm here by myself, you know, I gotta talk to Bryce behind the camera here. Let's start with the strike. Also, 6 health. I haven't been saying that in these videos, and I should. Captain America 5, Iron Man 5, Captain Marvel 6, so she's the healthiest so far, which is really impressive. I mean, it's not terribly impressive, it's one number, but it's an extra hit. And in this game, I mean, think about that. Like, going from 5 to 6 is a pretty tremendous increase. Let's talk about the strike. It's a range 2 strike, so I'm going to get my test dummy Red Skull here. And Red Skull is going to be rolling no defense dice and is totally blank, so this is just so that we can see Captain Marvel at her finest. Starting with a strike, it's a range 2, and it does 5 dice worth of damage. So let's get the range 2 here. So this is your, again, kind of your average range. It's about a car. That gives you, so this is actually a handy thing to do. I mean, if you're using these cars, which you should be on the board, also these dumpsters are kind of close. This is what X-Wing players do. It drives me insane. They know like the length of the asteroids, and they kind of can use those to gauge distance. Use the car. I mean, are you about a car away from Red Skull? That's a good tip. There's some hot tips. You don't even have to pay for that one. All right, range 2, here we go. Boom, there we are. So that's the max distance that I can strike with Captain Marvel. She has a 5 power attack. And you'll notice what I've found is that there's some trade-offs happening here between characters like Iron Man and Captain America versus Captain Marvel. This is a strike that does not have any wild abilities, so it's just straight up a punch. I mean, essentially you're just attacking, but it's a little bit more powerful because it doesn't have any utility attached. So for instance, Captain America is a 5-die attack, so that's not terribly relevant, but Iron Man is a 4-die attack. So it's a little bit less strong, but it does have that push attached. Captain America, actually the best of both worlds, has a push and has a 5-die attack. So he's got a very strong strike. So here's Captain Marvel, and all this is rolling 5 dice. Any hits, which I didn't get any there. Let's just do that again. Oh my gosh, this is why I can't win in miniatures games. Can you believe this? Okay, there we go. There's 3 hits, and on your initial roll, any crits blow up. So there's, ooh yeah, now we're talking. I only remember the bad rolls. There's 5. So that would be 5 attack, 5 damage would be dealt, assuming that Red Skull rolls 0 defense, which is generally not the case, but for us it is. And then I would gain, because I did 5 damage, I would gain 5 power. Incredible. So this is your default attack. Most characters have that single top attack that is gaining them power and costing them 0 power to do, so that you always have something to do no matter where you are on the power scale. All right, so there's Captain Marvel, got 5 power. Let's see what we can do with that. We also have an Energy Blast, which is an energy attack, and it's similar. After it's resolved, you gain 1 power. So rather than gaining power for everything that happens, every damage that you deal, you're gonna gain just 1 power, but it is guaranteed. And that for a miniatures game is really important whenever dice are involved. It just says after the attack is resolved, so it doesn't have to be successful, it doesn't have to do damage. You'll always get one back whenever you energy blast, and you can re-roll any number of attack dice for this attack. So that's just a really nice, good utility attack. And let's look at it. It's range 4, so I'm gonna guess it's about 2 cars. Let's look at range 4 here. Use our beautiful, fantastic 4-themed template from James out there, who's, I believe, watching the live stream. Thank you so much for that again, James. So range 4, great little range. I think this is what you'll see. 5 is the extreme. This is the longest range that you can have. So 4 is probably going to be your default for your like beam and energy attacks where you're actually shooting something at somebody else. I think 4 is going to be pretty standard. So we take up 4 dice. Costs us 0 power. So again, just a nice little attack. We roll them up. Got 1 crit, so we get to roll 1 more in. And look at that. Crits, wilds, and hits all count as successes, so that would be a 3-success attack. Red Skull would roll his defense dice. It's going to be 0 successes for the purposes of our video here. And then would take 3 damage, and Captain Marvel would gain 1 attack. Now, you do get to re-roll any number during this attack, which is relevant. So because I'm doing an energy blast, I can re-roll any number of attack dice for this attack. And boom, that would get me another success, and then I would gain 1 energy. So this is a good kind of solid attack. I like this attack a lot because it's probably going to do 1-ish damage just looking at the dice. I mean, you've got a reroll and you've got more hits on the dice than blocks. So against a, like Red Skull would roll 4 defense dice. Let's say I'm rolling 4 attack dice. The odds are in my favor and I'm guaranteed to get 1 power. And this is really relevant because this third ability called Rocket Punch requires 3 energy to use. So if I'm sitting at 2 energy and I'm starting my turn, I can do an energy blast to guarantee that I get that 3rd power, and then I can launch that into a Rocket Punch, which is a nice little combo that I have. I also have the Danver special down here, which I'll get to in a second, also a 3-power attack. So if I need just to guarantee that 1 extra power to make something happen, energy blast is the way to do it. I love the consistency of Captain Marvel. Really, really good. So let's look at Rocket Punch. That's a 3-range attack. So starting to get a feel for these distances. Red Skull here will carve for measuring purposes. That's, as we might expect, that's about 1 3/4 car by my measure. Nice little trick that I'm going to keep using for the rest of these videos. So that's the max range on a Rocket Punch. It's a 7-die attack, so I would spend 3 power. What does that get me? That gets me 7 dice. Incredible. And it does have a wild effect. So at the end of this attack, if my final dice pool has a wild symbol in it, I'm going to get to apply the stagger condition. And we'll look at that here in just a second. So what this looks like is I roll these dice and I get a critical there. So this is an example of a bad roll. These skulls I can never re-roll, so these just die, essentially. These could be re-rolled on like an energy blast, but I can't do that here. Blocks don't count for offense, so that's not going to be worth anything. So that's 2. My initial criticals always explode. So a lot of times we take the die that we're not going to utilize otherwise to actually re-roll them, but it's technically not that. You pull a new die in from your pool. Oh, just perfect. For the purposes of this demonstration, that is perfect. And that brings me in a wild symbol. So then we do any modification that needs to happen. And then because I have a wild symbol showing, I get to stagger my opponent. After it's resolved, the target character gains the stagger special condition. You see that there? Look at how staggered Red Skull is. Now check this out. What stagger means is when the character activates, its first action must be to shake, which is the ability to remove a special condition. So, for instance, let's say Red Skull's bleeding. Red Skull can begin his activation, do it as normal, and then at the end, because of the bleed condition, will take a damage. You can do that for the rest of the game. But if you want to, you can take one of your 2 actions to shake, and that's going to remove the bleed condition. What stagger does is it forces the first action to be a shake. So you're essentially denying 1 action to that character whenever they activate, which is extremely strong in the game, especially whenever a lot of times you need to take that move action to actually get into range to do something, or you need to take a double move to get to an objective. It'd be very powerful. So the Rocket Punch is one to look out for. Very, very nice. Stagger is great. quite great. Okay, then we move on to a couple of these superpowers of Captain Marvel, which is kind of why we're here. We have binary form, which costs 5. Yikes. Look at this. Okay, so I spend 5 energy. Boom. What do I get? I get the, boom, look at me. I'm Captain Marvel now. Until the start of this character's next activation, it adds 2 dice to its attack and defense rolls. That's just great. So at the start of my activation, I mean, you're generally only going to use this when you have the ability to do this at the very beginning of your activation. It doesn't take an action. It doesn't say anything about spend an action, do X. So I can just spend 5 and I become amazing. I become incredible. So now if I happen to have, like the energy blast now is wildly good. So I get 4 and I get +2. I can roll these up and I get a reroll on these boys. I can't reroll the skulls, remember? So that didn't actually help me whatsoever. But you know, you get ideas. Oh, look at that. Steven's rolling skulls tonight. But you can reroll that and then you get a power back and then you can do that attack again at +2. And then critically, if you're subjected to any amount of attacks until your next turn, when your next activation, you're gonna get +2 on all of your defense rolls, which is absolutely insane. So like, if she's the first, let's say she activates, goes into her super form, does a couple of attacks, they work great, and then is basically sitting there saying, I dare you. Like I've got 3 defense on physical, 4 on energy, 3 on psionic. I'm looking at 5, 6, 5 now. You don't want to attack that. And then I can wait until the last activation of my next turn until she would lose that binary form ability. So, you know, transform and destroy, essentially. She goes into like Archon mode. Then we have the Danver special. We've got a 3 power on this one, and I'm curious what this one is. I haven't even read it yet. You guys can believe that? They're like, we can believe it. Choose an interactive terrain feature or an enemy character, both of size 3 or less. Look, how about this? Building, I want to interact with this building. It's size 3, you can see it on the bottom here. It's nice that they do this. So let's say it's size 3. Choose an interactive, both size 3 or less, and within 2. Now, some people might call the Daily Bugle not interactive, but they're wrong, I think. All right, so let's say the building's within 2. Throw it, medium. This superpower can be used only once per turn. This is a Danver special. Hey, how are you? So here's an interesting point that kind of messed me up the first game that I played. Actually, every game that I played of Crisis Protocol, this has been a problem. If I'm throwing terrain, I measure from the thrower. If I'm throwing a character, I measure from the thrown character. So there's 2 ways this is going to work. One is Danver's throwing the Daily Bugle at Red Skull. The target has to be a medium distance from Captain Marvel. So Red Skull is well within medium distance. So this thing gets thrown, and then you would have a dodge roll from Red Skull equal to the size of the terrain, which is 3, plus 1, which is 4. And so it would essentially be like an attack of automatically 4 successes, and then Red Skull would roll defense, and anything that is, anything that's not dodged by the defense roll is damage taken. So, at its best, if this is our test dummy, that's just 4 damage getting dunked on by this building. The other thing that you can do, and then this thing goes away. The other thing you can do is throw an enemy at an enemy. So let's say that Bugle's back in its place. So Baron Zemo over here just looking at something else. So getting the Danver special, we're going to spend 3 power, and we're going to measure something within 2. And we'll get my 2 here. So that is within 2, enemy character within 2. Then I throw it a medium distance, and this is where it gets really fascinating, because if I'm throwing an enemy character, I mean, I can really get through the goalposts here. I can throw pretty far. I mean, that's not bad at all. And so then I throw Baron Zemo at Red Skull, and then Baron Zemo takes 1 damage automatically, no matter what, and that's it. And then Red Skull rolls a dodge roll. And if you imagine it's the same idea, right? So this is a size 2 thing. You add 1, and so it's like 3 automatic successes that Red Skull rolls a defense roll against. So it's starting to make sense, hopefully, to you. It's certainly making a lot more sense to me than it has in the past. So that's the Danver special. So you can throw a terrain, or you can throw an enemy character. And again, throwing an enemy character is really important because whoever gets thrown, if they collide with something, they automatically take 1 damage, no questions asked, no dice rolled. And if you've played dice games, which I have to imagine some of you watching this have, not having to roll dice is like the best thing you can ever do. Just look at, like, you know, the metagame of X-Wing or anything else right now. It's like, how can I not have to risk dice? That's why it happens. Okay, then we have 2 infinite abilities. I've already covered flight and the poison immunity. Let's talk about energy absorption. When this character is defending against an energy attack, for each wild rolled in the defense roll, let's say we rolled 2, we're defending against an energy attack from Iron Man. Ha! You can't target your allies in this game. It's in the rule book, by the way, so nothing fancy. You can fight in mixed teams, though, so Iron Man and Red Skull could team up and try to attack Captain Marvel. So when this character is defending, it's an energy attack. For each wild, they may change one of the attacker's critical, wild, or hits to a blank. This character gains 1 energy for each die change this way. A fantastically cool ability. So your wilds are going to modify their dice to blanks, and then they're going to gain you power. So in this case, let's say we do, I'm going to run you through the actual attack sequence because it's really important. So let's have the attack. Let's say we got a 5-die attack coming in here and it's energy. So you might think to yourself, oh, well, they don't get to explode this critical. What a cool ability this is. That is not true. The first thing you do is you resolve criticals. So Iron Man gets to roll in another die, and it didn't do anything that time. Then you have the step where you modify your own dice. So Iron Man can modify these dice in any number of ways, maybe a couple more re-rolls or some other abilities on the table. Danvers could roll her dice or change those dice in any capacity. Then you go to the player with priority gets to modify the other dice. So this is where this comes in, where I can blank here for that wild, and I can blank here for this wild. And then I would gain 2 power, and these still count as 2 successes. Unbelievably good. I love it. I think it's great. And she's got a defense of energy of 4, so she's going to be rolling 4 dice in her defense, and heaven forbid this happens. That's game over. That's just, I mean, Captain Marvel just won you the game. You just get 4 power, you block the attack, you blank everything out on their side of the board. It's phenomenal. So don't attack Captain Marvel with energy attacks. That's the lesson that I'm taking from this. All right, and then we flip over to the injured side. Nothing, as far as I can tell, has changed. We've still got a strike. We've still got the energy blast. We've still got the rocket punch. We've got the same binary form ability. Everything is the same, and this happens for a lot of characters. Injured is the same as healthy. So that's Captain Marvel. Incredibly cool. I think the main thing that Captain Marvel is going to bring to the table is I want to get as much energy as possible. So maybe paired with characters that can give her energy is going to be really important. Then I want to go into binary form and basically get my little token here so that I've got +2 on all of my rolls until my next activation. And then I'm basically like ready to unleash on the opposing team. If they want to shoot energy at me, I can soak it and, you know, basically remove their damage and get power from that as well. So if you do have to target me with an energy attack, it's going to lead me to go into my binary form much more easily, and then I can come and rain all, you know, destruction upon my foes. So very cool character, and Energy Blast I think is a standout ability for Captain Marvel. That's the one that I'll probably be using most often, thinking through my turn of like, how can I get Energy Blast without exposing myself to opponents' attacks? That's the idea. So real quick, we'll check in on chat. Let's see if anyone has anything to say. Nathan, I hope that you enjoy Captain Marvel. I know she's a favorite of yours. I think she plays really well. I also hope that the 1080 is coming through. Let me know if that's not the case, but I think we're officially in the upper echelon of quality now, which is what we got to do. Tobias, you're welcome. We're happy to make these videos. The playmat, the perennial question, is a not associated with Crisis Protocol. I think it's a Walking Dead playmat. We just got it for the stream because the Crisis Protocol mats are not out yet. Thank you, Kingdom Builders Hobbies. That's great. Really Big Bad Andy 76. Yeah, it's amazing. It's really powerful. being able to re-roll those dice for 0 power is just a really, really good attack. Marcus, thank you. And I think that's about it. And Dark Prince, I agree. It originally made me, it was weird why characters are thrown differently than terrain. The problem I think that you'd run into is like, you can have any kind of terrain, and there's these measurement devices are made to fit in a circular base. So it's kind of like, well, where do you measure the terrain from? Do you measure it from anywhere? And like, if that's the case, this building, you know, could go halfway across the map, which, you know, like I said, it's cool. I like that, but I think that's why it's happening like it is. And it when you're designing a game, having some constraints on what's possible is really helpful, because you're going to be releasing new terrain, and you don't want to feel like, well, if this is too long, then you know, it's going to ruin all of these throw abilities. So that's at least a reason for doing so. Pineapple U, there are extra dice released along the core set. There's a dice pack available, and I would suggest getting at least one. And that's about it. Thank you guys so very much for watching. We are going to come back on the stream with Spider-Man, one of the more agile heroes in the Marvel Universe. And we will see you there. Until next time, keep playing.